Alright team, welcome to the Purpose Fitness Masterclass on nutrition, where I never want you guys to stress about food again. I made this because I wanted to give you guys all the information and education in one place so you know exactly what you need to do to get results for your goals, right? So let's jump straight in, right? What's the best nutrition system ever, right? The best one ever is the one that gets results, but it's also the one that you can stick to after you get the results, right? So we all know that like all diets work. All diets have been proven to get results because they all stick to the same sort of rules. But the one that you can stick to the longest, the one you can adhere to, is going to give you the best bang for your buck, right? Nutrition isn't rocket science. You know, calories decide your weight, macros decide how you look and a bit how you perform, and then the micros and micronutrients decide how you feel and stay healthy, right? It's simple, powerful, and it's totally doable. And obviously I said that's why this matters, right? You don't need another diet, to be honest. You just need a system, right? Training's the spark and nutrition is the fuel, right? Fat loss, muscle gain, performance, these are the common goals we see people in the gym with. They all depend on energy in versus energy out. Do you have enough energy to perform or to gain muscle, or are you consuming enough energy but also in a deficit so you can create fat loss, right? If your food doesn't align with your goals, then your results won't either, right? Then that's pretty straightforward. It needs to, your meal plan, your nutrition plan, your goals need to line up, okay? So in the gym, Purpose, we have three levels. We designed this system called E.A.T, so it's super easy to remember. E.A.T, establish the baseline, apply portion controls, track and tweak precisely, and that's pretty much what this is here, right? So establish a baseline where we just give you a set meal plan. Done for you meals, follow the plan. Can't really fuck it up. It's the best for beginners, or if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed or you're just getting new into nutrition, just eat this and you'll get a result, okay? Can't guarantee that you'll love the foods on it. That's another topic, but it's proven to get results, right? So once you've done that, you're either bored of those foods or you're ready, like, you know, I want to eat foods that I actually enjoy or something different than what you've suggested, then this is the easy way to do it, right? Apply portion principles or the hand guide to portion control. I first discovered this actually when I was traveling. I was traveling in Nicaragua. I got really sick in Machu Picchu on a hike, and when I got there, I couldn't speak the language, but I could look at a plate of food and I could establish, you know, what a palm size of protein was, fistful of vegetables, thumbs of fat, cupped hands of carbohydrates. I could figure out what was on my plate so I could build a healthy plate and get myself healthy again so I can enjoy that as a surf trip and enjoy my holiday, right? So use your hand guide, basically your hand, I'll show you this a little bit later. Use your hand to measure food on your plate. The best thing about it is it's flexible, it's family friendly, you don't need any tracking apps, and your hand goes with you everywhere. So you can actually do this anytime, any place. It's probably my preferred out of the three. And then T is to track and tweak precisely for macros, right? So log your protein, your carbs, your fats into an app, something like MyFitnessPal. It's more for advanced precision, for performance, or next level results, or for those of you that are just more numbers driven, then, you know, it's worth doing it. I generally say, for most people, once they get through the beginner phase, like track your food for 1 to 2 weeks using an app, because even if you don't do it like amazingly well, you're going to learn so much more about what's in food that you already eat. And then when you go and use the hand guide, you're like, oh, I've tracked that for 2 weeks. I know exactly what that looks like. Put my hand over it, I can see what that looks like. And then you've got a really good gauge of, you know, how much food's going in your body. Basically, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it, right? So you need to know what's going in. So which one's right for you? Well, I want easy, no thinking. I just don't want to think about it, Russ. Go with the meal plan. Go with the E.A.T established, right? I don't want to have to count. I want to have to get my app out. I want to be able to go to a friend's house and not be like, oh, excuse me, can you put that on my scales before you put it on the barbecue? Like, I don't want to use all that, but I still, you know, want to eat foods that I enjoy and I want to know how they fit in my diet, right? So that's where you use the hand guide. Or you want precision, next level results. That's when you're going to go to macros. Like, there is no best level. There's just the one you stick to. If you do better just following a plan and you don't have to think, fuck, do that, right? If you're, you know, good enough to be able to, hey, I like making my own food. This is what I commonly hear. I eat pretty well, or my nutrition's pretty good. Awesome. Just use your hand to start measuring it. And if you really want to dial it in, go with the macros option. The numbers that change everything. So this is a really easy way. So if you're going to do macros, you need to know this number, right? Which is basically how many calories you're going to need to hit your goals, okay? So establish your base metabolic rate. You want to take your body weight in kilos, times it by 2.2, and then times it by 14. Can't be fucked doing any of that. Just go to this website here, which is tdecalculator.net, and it'll give you, enter the prompts and it'll give you the result, right? Then you want to set your goal. So once you've got that goal for maintenance, what that number is, you can either go fat loss if that's your goal, and you're going to take that TDE number and you're going to drop off about 10 to 20% of the total calories. Muscle gain, you're probably going to add 10 to 20% excess calories. Or performance, you're probably going to stay at maintenance or potentially plus or minus 5% depending on what your performance goals are. Okay, so hey, I'm in performance goals, but I need to stay kind of lean. Or I'm performance goals and I'm an endurance athlete. Like, there'll be caveats to this depending on what your goals are, but that gives you a pretty good starting point for just the number of calories that you need to get in a day. And like I said, nothing breaks this. Calories control your weight, and then your macros, proteins, carbs, and fats, that's controlling your shape. But you need to have the calories number one. Okay, that's where this kind of comes in, the nutrition hierarchy. Okay, so calories are number one; they're non-negotiable, right? If I eat pretty good and I eat healthy, but I still eat too much. If I meant to eat 2,000 calories, but I eat healthy and I don't eat any processed foods and I avoid sugar and whatever else, but I'm eating 2,500 calories, I'm still eating 500 more calories than I need to, right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, it does not matter. You cannot break this rule, but yeah, calories is your number one. You need to get your calories right first for your goal, okay? Macros comes in at second. I've got protein as king there because for most of us, especially if we're training in the gym, protein is in charge of recovery, repair. Obviously, what helps us to grow and to build muscle, but it also helps with performance. And if you're in a fat loss phase, it helps with curbing cravings. And you still need to have muscle on you, even if you're going to be a smaller person, because you still need to be able to live. You don't want to be smaller and weaker. You want to just be smaller and still be able to perform, right? And then meal timing is a little bit optional, but if we're getting into performance and we're getting into making the meal plan work best for you, things like carb timing, putting the carbs in and around your workouts when you're going to use them, and then the rest of the day you probably don't need as many. Potentially saving some of those before bed so you can sleep a bit better. But like I said, that's a little bit more optional. The food qualities after this, so it's important, but it's not the 100%. Like I said, you don't actually have to eat 100% clean all the time to still get results. Like I said, nothing cheats the law of thermodynamics, but it's calories, right? So if you want ice cream or a piece of chocolate, you can still have it as long as it fits in your calorie budget. Now, is it going to be it's going to take up a chunk of your budget because it's probably going to have more fats and stuff like that in it, but is it still allowed? 100%. Like, if it keeps you, what's the biggest rule? What's the best diet? Then we'll get results. So if it's within your calorie budget, gets you results. And you can see the line on the side here, it's the one you can stick to, adherence. So if having a piece of chocolate every day keeps you on your meal plan and you're still getting results, well, then you get to have your chocolate. How good, right? So food quality, again, organic versus normal foods or whatever, not essential, but obviously the higher quality foods that you can eat, then that's going to obviously yield better for your health long term, not just the results of fat loss. So that's the other one where food quality will come in. Then you got hydration, and then supplements are last, right? Hydration is highly underrated. A lot of times people confuse hunger cues for dehydration. So making sure that you guys are drinking at least 2 to 3 liters a day. I would definitely start at the higher end for that, because for most people, I think they barely struggle to get the 2 liters a day. So that's why there's a bit of a range. But yeah, supplements are last, and they're exactly that. They're a supplement. So when we talk about supplements, first one kind of comes to mind is like protein supplements, like whey protein. Like, hey, do I need to have a protein shake to gain muscle? Or do I need to have a protein shake to lose weight? Like, no. Right, it is a supplement for real food. You want to eat real food first if you can. A few different reasons for that. If you really struggle to get it in, or it's going to allow it, make it easier for you to hit your numbers long term, then that's where supplements can play a part. And other supplements that I'm not going to go into a whole thing about today, but one you should be definitely taking, especially if you're doing strength training, is creatine. You don't need to load it or anything like that. There is creatine naturally occurring in your diet, in meats and stuff like that. But if you are strength training, it is one that allows you to recover faster, so you can do more reps at a higher intensity, both for strength and conditioning. So if you are in the gym and you're training, that would be one that I would recommend. And then potentially, like I said, protein powders maybe as a second, just to fill the gaps if you're struggling to get it in with your food, right? So like it says here, get the bottom right before you obsess about the top. A lot of people will spend a lot of money, throw me out supplements, herbal teas, I hope this fucking works, pill, but they actually don't have their calories and macros actually dialed in. And like I said, calories, you get that right, 70 to 80% of your goal. Macros is another 20%. The rest is the rest. So yeah, take care of those things first and you will be well on your way. Portion control, made easier. This is a bit of a complex slide. I'm trying to make it really, really easy. I use a little Simpsons graphic. On the right here, this is the hand guide to portion control. So palm of your hand, this one here, is for protein. Carbs is a cupped hand of carbohydrates. Fats is a thumb of fat, and veggies is a fist of veggie. And this is a equation, like I said, if you're using it, if you get your calories and you work out your macros, this here is approximately about 20 to 30 grams of protein, cupped hand about 20 to 30 grams of carbs, 7 to 12 grams of fats for a thumb, right? Now, why is there such a big range? Because no two hands are built the same, right? So your hand is proportionate to your body, right? So your hand equals your portion, not your partner's, not your coach's, yours. So if someone else makes you food and they use their hand, it might be a little bit different, right? So if you are a bigger person and you have big hands, then you're on the higher end of the scale. So generally guys, bigger hands, probably going to be at the higher end with 30 grams of protein. Girls, lower end, probably going to be 20, right? If you're not sure, for fats and you're trying to reduce the amount of fats, then when you add these ones up and you say, oh, it's a thumb of fat, you might say that it is worth 12 so that you eat less of them. But yeah, like I said, unless you've got really big hands, like you may be somewhere in the middle. It's 20 to 25 here, 7 to 10 down here, unless you have really big hands, okay? What does that look like? Well, 1 palm of protein is like 100 grams of chicken, palm-sized lean steak, fish, or tofu. Cupped hand of carbohydrates could be a half a cup of rice or oats, or a cupped hand of cooked, so you just take the pasta, cupped hand of cooked pasta or potato. A thumb of fat could be a teaspoon of olive oil or nut butter, or a thumb-sized portion of nuts or seeds. And a fist of vegetables, a cup of raw veggies, or half a cup if it's cooked, right? Because they shrink down and a lot of water comes out of them when they're cooked. So generally, I'll always try to do this raw if I can. But if someone serves you a plate of food at a barbecue, it's obviously already cooked. Just you still use the same system. It'll get you good results. All right. This is, like I said, hands down probably the best system I've used in the last 20 years of coaching. And I created this graphic today, and I think it's the greatest thing ever. Just because it looks like The Simpsons. Super easy to understand. Travels with you anywhere. Yeah, like you don't need to put, into apps or anything like that. You can just look at a plate and get it right. Get this one moving. There we go. So basically, here we go. So the fast track to results without, needing to diet forever. And that's something we want to avoid. We don't want to be in this constant, I've been dieting for 5 years, can't lose this 10 kilos. Because if that's the case, you can't stick to it. You're not sticking to it. Because you're dieting for a period of time, you're going off the diet, and then you're like, oh, fuck, that didn't work. I've got to start again, right? So if you decide that, I'm going to get after this, and I'm talking about dieting in terms of trying to lose body fat and preserve muscle mass, then, this is the protocol that I would definitely recommend. You'll see in the gym, we commonly run a lot of 6-week challenge. And the 6-week period just gives us a good benchmark of time to be able to go hard at this and then take a break. And you may not always see that, right? So 6 weeks, cut hard. So take the calorie number we figured out before, your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, your calories for the day, and then drop 200 to 500 calorie deficit. Like I said, about 20%, right? So, some of you, if you're on the higher end of calories, you might be able to drop more. If you're lower end of calories, you drop less. Do it, cut hard and stick to it for 6 weeks, okay? Maintain your protein, keep that at a super high level, about 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight, as mentioned before. And then after 6 weeks, have a week where you just go back to maintenance. You eat a little bit more food. That doesn't mean you pig out, but you just go back to maintenance. What it does is it helps to reset the system so that you can obviously recover fully. And then if needed, so in the 6 weeks, if you were trying to lose 5 kilos and you lost 5 kilos, well, you don't probably need to be on a diet anymore. Just stay at maintenance. Or like I said, plus or minus 5%. If you lost 5 kilos but you wanted to lose 10, still do 6 weeks. Have 1 week to reset the body so you don't fucking hate life. And then repeat, go another 6 weeks and get after it again, right? What does it do? It prevents the metabolic slowdown, which is what's tend to happen when we're constantly in a deficit. It protects performance. And the thing is, if you're always in a deficit, you're consuming less calories than you're putting out. It's hard to perform at the highest level. Don't be surprised. And you can get some great results, but don't be surprised if you're not able to lift as much weight, not able to run as fast, you're not getting as many PBs. For some people, it won't matter, especially if you're a beginner. But if you've been training a while and you go into a hard cut phase, you're going to feel a bit flat, right? Because you're taking in less energy. So to protect performance and to make sure that we can maintain those levels, we have, like I said, we have that week at maintenance, right? And that means it actually is sustainable because you can also extend this. If you're feeling really flat, like you've done this twice, this might become 1 or 2 weeks and then do it again. But it means you can actually sustain it over the year rather than going, fuck, I'm still in a diet, I still haven't lost the weight, this doesn't work, and then you rebound. right? So we don't diet year round. We cycle intensity just like we cycle your training. We go hard for, say, 4 to 6 weeks in a training cycle. We have a deload week to give the body a chance to recover. We hit it hard again, a deload week. We keep doing that so the body can keep adjusting and so we don't get injured or hate training, right? So nothing changes here. Mini cut protocol, highly recommended if you're trying to lose a bit of weight. How does training, so just taking away Bob's face there, how does training, affect your nutrition? All right, and that's probably a good one as well. So like most of the time, if we just focused on the diet, the calories in, calories out, your training is just like superficial, right? It's just like it's cream on top. So if you train more and you're already in a deficit, you'll be in a bigger deficit, right? But if you want, like I said, to protect performance, if you're lifting a lot, then you need more protein because you're going to break down more muscle, right? You're going to need more recovery. You're going to need to repair more if you're lifting a lot more because you're going to create more muscular damage, right? If you're doing a high volume, like a lot of sessions, or you're combining running and weightlifting is pretty common if you're doing a high rocks right now, or you're playing sport and you're going to the gym is another way, or you've just decided I'm going hard, I'm doing like a training camp 6 weeks, going to train twice a day, something like that, then you're going to need more carbs because that's where your energy really comes from. A lot of people will go, I'll just eat more protein, it'll keep me more full, but protein doesn't give you energy. It helps repair. It does make you more full because it takes longer to digest, but there's only so much you can digest, and then you just feel slow, or you feel sluggish, or you have no energy, right? So higher volume, need more carbs, right? Rest days, that doesn't mean equal like no food at all. It just means like adjusting your carbs. So on a rest day, potentially you're going to have slightly lower volume of carbs because you're not moving. Maybe get out and go for a walk, but you don't need as much of that excess energy because you're not training that day. Unless you're resting and you potentially are loading for an event, that's a little bit different. But if it's just a standard rest day, just reduce your carbs just a little bit. That'll help you to reduce your calories. Get a lot of good fruit and vegetables in. Still good protein. You recover pretty good there. Performance demands recovery. Okay, what does that mean? Sleep, hydration, calories, right? Sleep 7 to 8 hours, drink 2 to 3 liters, and maintain that number of calories, right? Like I said, if you're in that deficit, maintain that number. If you're in maintenance, maintain that. Train hard, fuel smart, and recover like an athlete, right? I used to steer away from that term a lot because I didn't want to alienate people, but that's the thing. If you're an athlete, you're going to be taking care of yourself. You're going to fuel and recover smartly, not just cause, right? So yeah. Broken metabolism. I hear this one, not a lot, but I hear it sometimes. Like, I got a broken metabolism, or I'm getting older, or whatever, or it's just not the same after 30, not the same after 40, 50, insert number here. The truth is, your metabolism isn't broken. It's adaptive, right? Like anything, it'll adapt to the stimulus you've given it. So if you've tried everything and you still didn't manage to lose weight or whatever, your inputs were inconsistent, right? So you can fix that with obviously establishing a proper deficit, like we've shown you how to do today. So figuring out how many calories you need, put yourself in a deficit, and then maintaining that for a period of time of at least 6 weeks, and then having that reset 1 to 2 weeks. Getting adequate amount of protein, okay? Resistance training, okay? So if you've just done diet and you said, it doesn't work for me, but you've never done it with training, that will be another factor because your training will increase your metabolism because you've burned energy and your body will want to replenish that. So if you're not training at all, it'll be a lot harder. And if you're only like say running or doing just cardio, that's not really punching your muscles. It will make you feel tired, it'll make you feel sweaty, it'll work your aerobic system. But if you actually build some muscle, your body needs to feed that. And it's the fastest way to reset your metabolism is to put more muscle on, is to start doing some resistance training, right? So if you're not already doing that, definitely start there and follow the nutrition plan. Also, like I said, sleep, steps, hydration, stress should be up there as well. If you're highly stressed, that will also affect your metabolism. So potentially, there's a whole video I could do on stress, but breathing, meditation, finding exercise that you enjoy, that's not a punishment, and like I said, doing these things are actually going to help to reset the system, right? The biggest one though is tracking data, I don't know how to say that. Tracking the info, like, honestly, right? And I mean, like, don't just say I eat healthy, like, and you have a salad for lunch, but you have a huge dinner and don't realize how many calories it is. If you're not tracking, if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. If you're not tracking, you have no fucking idea. I try to say this all the time. If you wanted to save money for a house and all your expenditures are going out, your bank manager's going to be like, oh, why have you got 3 fucking subscriptions to Netflix, right? You'd be like, what do you mean I got 3? Like, obviously you would delete 2 of them and keep 1, right? So if you want to save a house, you need to know what's in the bank, right? And what are you spending and what are you saving? So it's no different with your body. You want to make sure, you know, the right inputs are coming in and then tracking that honestly for an extended period of time, you know, so you know exactly what's going on. Metabolism isn't magic, it's just math with momentum. And what I mean by that is exactly what I said, is like the equation with the bank. If you know what calories in and calories are going out, and then you can create momentum by strength training, getting your sleep right, getting steps in to move blood, hydrating, etc., then, you know, we can fix a broken metabolism and we can get you going again. All right? Look at this one there. Perfect. There we go. All right. Now, nutrition laws that you can't break. There's Dave thinking about it. Right. So the rules, and this is probably refers to the last one, the rules don't care about your feelings, okay? But they work every time. And what I mean by that is, like, you can think you have a broken metabolism, you think you've tried everything, you can disagree with everything I just fucking said, but the law of thermodynamics, calories in versus calories out, always applies, right? So you're burning calories all the time. Even at rest, you are burning calories, right? So if you are consuming more than what you actually put out, then you are going to gain weight or, you know, stay the same or gain weight, right? And if you're consuming less, you're going to reduce that weight. Protein is essential for body composition. So if you want to repair your body, if you want to gain muscle and you want to, like I said, reset that metabolism, you need to have muscle on you so your body, you know, effectively burns more energy at rest or when it's moving so that you can actually change the shape of your body. You can't change the shape of fat, it just sits there. Fat just sits there, it doesn't have a fucking pulse, it doesn't move, right? Whereas muscle, every time you move, those muscles got to contract. That contraction costs you energy that you need to take in, right? So, yeah, protein's essential for body comp. Food quality matters, but it doesn't override quantity. And I talked about this earlier. Calories are number one. Like, would never tell you to do this, but let's say you were just eating McDonald's, right? You just ate off the McDonald's menu. You could still lose weight as long as you're in a calorie deficit, right? Let's say you went to the healthier options. Like I was saying, like I say that, like there's no good foods or bad foods. It's just the amount of calories that are in something and macros, and quality doesn't override the quantity. So that's why I said if you can keep a little bit of chocolate in there and that helps you stay on your diet, great, as long as it fits within your numbers. But in saying that, you can't out-train a bad diet. All right, if you're having those comfort foods, but they come with a lot of excess fats or a lot of excess sugars, it's probably gonna fucking tank your energy anyway, because you're gonna get these energy peaks and then these crashes, right? You're gonna get these massive slumps. So that's why we do it with healthier foods, because you get less of those crashes, right? So more energy put into performance and you're not so flat. And like I said, ultimately the best plan, it's the one you can stick to, right? Look at the next slide. There we go. All right, so I think I missed the slide earlier. Choosing the starting method. Hand guide, right? So the hand guide's simple, it's fast, it goes with you everywhere. You know, if you just, like I said, I think it's probably the best one once you kind of figure out exactly what your numbers are and what works for you. I think using your hand and looking at every plate of food, you just constantly have your hand over food all the time, but it makes it super simple to figure that one out, right? So generally, as a real simple rule of thumb, girls, if you look at the plate, get 1 palm to 1.5 palms of protein, get 1 cupped hand of carbohydrates, get a thumb of fat, and then a fist of fruit or vegetables on the plate, right? Or salad or whatever, right? Guys, just basically double it. 2 palms of protein, potentially only 1 to 2 cups of carbohydrates, depending on your goals, 1 to 2 thumbs of fat, and then 1 to 2 fists of vegetables or salad. Why do guys need 2 and girls need 1? Just generally girls are smaller than guys. Again, this will depend on your goals. So like I said, I don't like giving blanket statements for everyone, but that's a very, very simple rule of thumb. If I was looking at my plate and I at least could see 1 palm of protein, 1 cup of carbohydrates, 1 thumb of fat, and a fist of vegetables, I know that I'm getting a well-balanced plate. Okay, even if it's, you know, I haven't figured out my exact numbers yet, that is a balanced nutrition plate for me, right? So, meal plans. Just, if you fucking don't know where to start there. Just follow what we've already got written. It works. You're just going to eat the food, right? You're going to make it eat the food. Macro tracking is next level for precision. Or if you're into numbers, like I said, definitely get into that. I recommend everyone sort of at least do this in, you know, once a year. Track food for, you know, 1 to 2 weeks, maybe even once every 6 months, just to see that you're still on point, and then go back to the hand guide to sort of measure everything else. Like I said, there's no best level. It's just the one you can stick to. Ultimately, how do you win long term? Well, pick one method. Okay, so like I said, don't go hand guide and then meal plan and then doing the calories and macros. It'll get quite confusing. So like I said, I would pick one. So let's say you started like you've kind of done some stuff before. You've followed a meal plan. Maybe pick calories and macros. Do it consistently for like up to 2 weeks, and then after that, then pick one method and go to hand guide and just follow that. Okay, so you know roughly what that looks like now. You know roughly how many palms you need in a day. Just follow that, right? Build consistency. So that's the biggest thing. Now, pick one method so it can be consistent. Hit 80 to 90% of your plan every week. This is a big one. Weekends separate winners. All right, so like I said, 80 to 90% of your plan each week. Generally, that 10 to 20% usually falls apart across the weekend. But if it falls apart on Friday, bleeds into Saturday, bleeds into Sunday, that's like, now we're like 25 to 30% of your week is out of whack, right? So like have an idea. This is what I'm saying here. Like if you don't always have it exactly planned in because you might be going out or whatever, that's where the hand guide can be quite flexible. Have an idea of what you're going to eat across the weekend. Instead of getting to the weekend and going, oh, what do you want to eat? Oh, I don't know. I haven't been to the shops. Oh, Uber Eats, right? So like 89% of the time, like that's the one meal of the week that you Uber Eats, but you say that, you have an idea that, hey, on Saturday I have one Uber Eats meal and the rest of my weekend, Saturday morning, Saturday lunch, Friday night, Sunday morning, Sunday lunch, Sunday dinner, all accounted for, then fuck yeah, that falls into that 10 to 20% and it gets you within your calories, then you're probably all good because you'll be able to stick to that meal plan. But not going in with any idea for the weekend, I'm really good Monday to Friday and then I fall off on the weekends, that's where most people's progress comes undone, okay? So adjust every 2 to 4 weeks, try to stick with the similar or same foods and same plan for at least 2 to 4 weeks so that you can actually see if it's working. And then you can track progress, not just with the scales, like how much you weigh, but measurements, like track your measurements, performance in the gym, clothes sizes, take photos. Like that's the big one. And every time I do this with people, they always say, man, I fucking wish I took a photo when I started because my body has changed so much since then. So on day dot, whenever you decide to take this challenge on, take a photo of yourself. And I would recommend, like I've done it before and I took a photo every single day and I didn't think I'd see much change. And I'll tell you what, I should put the photo in here, but it blew me away. But at least once a week. At least once a week. You know, if you don't love scales, fine, take photos because you'll see the difference. Otherwise, yeah, I recommend also with the scales, if you only ever do that once a week, you can get really panicked about it and it can really mess with your head. Whereas if you just get on the scales, weigh yourself every single day, it's just a number. It's just a metric. It's just data, whatever you say, it's numbers. Get on it, 83. Get on it tomorrow, 81. Get on it the day after, 82. Get on the day after, 84. Back to 83. If you weighed yourself every single day and then took the average, so added all the numbers up and divided it by 7 for a week, so averaged it over a week, that's just averagely what you weigh, right? Because your weight does go like this, but over time, if you want to lose weight, it's going like this and you want to gradually see it going down. Or if you're trying to put on weight, it'd be the other way. But if you only weigh yourself once a week and that particular day doesn't align with your goals, it can be very frustrating and can derail some of your progress. So I would, if you're going to use scales, I'd weigh myself every single day. Measurements once a week. Performance every time I train. Want to see, just give me a quick readiness. Do I feel good today? Do I have energy? Did I sleep good? And then obviously make sure I'm moving, I'm getting better. And then I would take photos. So every day, go on the scale, take a photo, just snapshot. No one else to see but you, or just at least once a week take a photo, right? And that's how you're going to see that you are winning long term and not just like very short-sighted. That's it, team. Thanks so much. If you need help picking your starting point, just DM me nutrition and I'll send you a meal plan or portion guide based on where you're at. Like I said, just pick one plan. Like if you make it too confusing, you'll get out of control. But if you pick one goal, one plan, you attack it for 6 weeks, have a week off, and then go again, like you can absolutely nail this. Guys, if you got questions, hit me in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you in the gym soon.